for oxtail ragu, you are going to need carrots, onions, and celery, olive oil, flour, beef broth, parsley, rosemary, bay leaves, crushed tomatoes, red or white wine, salt and pepper, garlic, cheese, and of course, some oxtail. I've seasoned my oxtails with a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm going to put them over here in this is just regular flour. I'm going to put that on there so they brown real well. While I'm doing that, I've got a cast iron skillet back here. You can use a regular pan. And I'm going to put it at got it on about a medium. Take a little bit of olive oil in that pan. Let that get nice and hot, and then I'm going to brown the meat. All right, I've got the oxtails braising. You guys are probably wondering, Aaron, where's your drink? Well, it's 10 a.m. on Saturday, and I wanted to eat this for lunch, so I wasn't really planning on drinking. Well, now you're probably saying to yourself, but Aaron, you've told us so many times that if you don't drink while you cook, it won't turn out properly. Well, that's true. Got my morning coffee here, little bit of homemade Kahlua. Once I put my oxtail in the pan, I move the heat up to about a medium high. It's looking pretty good now. I'd say it's been in there for probably about 15 minutes or so. I've been rotating it. Now, I'm not going to cook the whole thing. I just want to brown the outsides of it, caramelize the fat a little bit. So at this point, I'm going to take my oxtail, I'm going to set it to the side, but I'm going to leave all my oil and everything in this pan. I've divided my veggies up, and I'm going to put about half of them into this food processor. The other half are just going to go into the pan. Put these in here, and I'm going to make a little bit of a paste. Into the hot oil, I'm going to add my onions, celery, and carrots. Give those a quick stir. And I'm going to saute these bad boys. Add your garlic. My veggies are looking good. I'm going to mix in that paste mixture that I made with the other half of the celery, carrots, and onions. Okay, now you got to decide whether you're going to use the red or you're going to use the white. Now the white will probably lighten the dish up. It is a very rich dish and it's got a lot of bold flavors, so that could be a good way to go. But the red is much more traditional. I simply just like the flavor better, and so I'm going to go with the red. Into my pan, I'm going to add about a cup of wine and a can of crushed tomatoes. I'm going to add the aromatics. Got my bay leaves, got my rosemary, a couple sprigs of parsley. I've added my oxtail back into the pan. Now I'm going to take about 2 cups of beef broth. I'm going to put that in there. It should go all the way to the top. I'm going to bring this to a boil. Now that it's up to a boil, you can do one of two things. You can either leave it on your stove boiling for about 2 hours, or you can stick it in your oven for 2 hours covered with aluminum foil. I'm going to stick it in the oven because frankly I just think that with the aluminum foil and the steam, it just helps to break the meat down and make it even more tender. I mentioned a couple times now that this is a rich sauce, and it is. Now you should try it the way we've prepared it when it comes out of the oven, but for me it's just a little overwhelming. And so to kind of cut down on the richness, what I'm going to do is on the stove, I'm going to add another can of crushed tomatoes to what's in the Dutch oven. Now you don't have to do this. I would try it the other way first, but you may want to have an extra can around in case you try it and you're like, man, this is just too damn rich. Okay, I just pulled the oxtails out of the oven, and I can tell that they are incredibly tender. And I'm going to put them on the side here so that I can pull the meat off of the bone. I have taken the oxtail bones and I pulled all the meat from them. It came off pretty easy, but some of it I did have to take a knife and kind of scrape the bone to get it off. I still see a lot on here, and if you have got time, you could put it back in your dish and boil it a little longer to get some of these pieces off. All right, what I'm going to do now is chop this up. I like mine a little finer because I want a piece of meat in every bite, but if you want yours a little more thick, bigger pieces of meat, it's however you like it. You can add your meat back in to the sauce, and it's all done. But like I said, I think it's a little too rich. At least it's a little too rich for me. So what I've done here is I've got a little bit of crushed tomato, just like I put in here earlier. Got my bones in there. I'm going to add this mixture to the pot with the meat, and it's going to be perfect balance. Bones are removed and pasta's about done. It's time to plate. And there you have it, braised oxtail ragu. Mmm.